Thank you. Thank you for your inviting me to be here, give the presentations about e-waste. So, good afternoon, everybody, our friends. So, the presentation title is focused on the adventure of e-waste management for circular economy in China. So, basically, we know about in our world. Some of this the material every day we can take the consumption. About is the 50 years ago, about is totally global material consumption is just 27 is G ton. But now I think it may be for the now it may be 100 G ton. In the future, I think this the consumption for all the material about is 160 G tons. So it means our the material to support our the society is increasing very faster. Finally, with the material flow, found them of the material just after the producing, manufacturing, consuming, then reach the end of life. So it means all the some material, all the resources could be functioning as a waste. This is for our the problem. How to make this the waste recycling of material recycling to support our the industrial development, to save our the material or resource depletion. This is the challenge for our world. We have analysis the insight about the product updating and diversity in the past 100 years. Basically, in our world, the product we used, maybe 100 years ago, there's very, very few technical this product. But today, so many electronics, so many different the diversity, the function, the product we use every day, like the electronics, like different some of this the players. So this is for the outer world. In China, is that special some of the history. We know in China, that's very famous 4 big items we use every day, because 4 big items is fashion goods for the young generation. Maybe when they have the wedding, the ceremony, they could buy this big items as the equipment or the machines. In the 50 years ago, at that time, bicycle, radios, and the wristwatch and the sewing machines is the fashion goods. But currently, I think it could be changed into maybe like apartment, mobile phones, like the vehicles. It's quite different. This means after 4 big items is diversion and evolution to make our changing of function of society. So in this situation, we have generally so many the waste. One type is the electronic waste or e-waste. So e-waste could be identified one of the most fastest increasing waste stream in the world, especially in the developing country in the past 20 years. So I think everybody have some special insight to feeling about the e-waste. Maybe for all of you, you have some special e-waste, or some is the waste the mobile phones, or some is the computer in your home, stayed in your home. But especially in China, China is the leading e-waste generator in the world. So every year, currently the general e-waste about, I think it's 12 out of 15 million tons. And this the amount is also increasing very faster. About is the 2040 to reach the peak. So that is the situation for some of the e-waste generation especially in China. Because China is the largest with the e-waste generators. We're concerned about that. This is the one concern. About the second one, so e-waste is the, sometimes we call it urban mass, because it contains so many the valuable resources of the precious metals. For example, in the e-waste, some is the different components they contain some is valuable metals like the coppers or like this the gold and the silver. You find it's very rich. So that is called the urban mines. So urban mines could be replaced the natural mines or geological mines for the resource use in demand in the future. At the meantime, it's the EVs that use some of the critical metals. For example, like the gold. This gold it could be used the electronics. But every year we use the urban mines every year. It's 2,000 tons. It's only about 12% for the electronic use. But however, this is the other reserve, underground resources reserve cannot support just maybe 45 years left. It means 45 years later, then will be no some of the reserve of the gold in this world. This is the situation to accelerate some of the depletion of critical metals. At the meantime, EVs is toxic. EVs they contain some of the high metals like the lead, like this the mercury, like this the barometer flame retardant. So this means we should to concern about one side is the so many present metals, valuable metals, but also they contain some of the toxic material. In the past way, so at the informal recycling in China, we find the pictures about 20 years ago. So that is use the informal recycling like this open burning, like this the leaching. So this way, some is the toxic material to stock up the environment or the riverside to cause some environmental disaster or some ecological risk. So that we will talk about is how to make out the e-waste management, a sound management, like this the WEEE, waste, electrical and electronic equipment. So in the previously, some this the e-waste flows. One is the manufacturing to flows to the formal dismantling companies, from families to discarding, then old for new for the policy, then go to formal dismantling. And a little about go to the individual collector and allow to think about enterprises, then go to repairing, or some is the second-hand market, or some is go to the informal dismantling companies. About 20 years ago, there is mostly, I think it's mostly, for some is the e-waste just flow to the informal recycling or informal dismantling the company with a little illegal importation. So we get it, it's reported China is deal with about 70% for the global e-waste dumping, recycling or disposal. So this is for the flows. So it means if we want to make the e-waste sound management, then it's just a transfer from the informal dismantling to go to the formal dismantling. This is for the general problem. And in the global ways, we find that some of this the e-waste the flows. This also is about 10 years ago. We get the information about the global way. We find some is the e-waste flows from the developing countries to developing countries, like from the Europe to go to the West African countries, and from the like this the North America to go to the South America, the Brazil, and some of this go to the from the, maybe go to the China or from Japan or from this South Korea, other countries. So this is for the global flow of e-waste, then to make some of this the e-waste or some of the environmental disaster for the developing countries. So how to improve this the e-waste? How to make this the environmental sound management? That's the international problem. So basically, if we want you to make the e-waste management, Then firstly, to control the e-waste from the informal to formal. So it means to ensure all the e-waste could be collection. So collection is the first important procedure. It's in China, especially after maybe 20 years created. There's the main collection channels. For example, individual collectors like use the small vehicle. And the second-hand market, maybe you can go to some of this in China, like the Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen to find the second-hand market. They also have the play those to collection the e-waste. And for old phone new policy, repair stop. And like today, some bodies use the internet plus and use special app like this. The UN and collaborate with the Baidu to develop special the app to finalize the collection. And also in China, some special the enterprises to get the collection your different channels like the home collections, old phone new, and internet plus with different some is the enterprises. And the second one, when the enterprises take back for the e-waste, let's think about how to improve the recycling rate. They important for the technical efficiency. It means to improve the advanced the processes, especially the e-waste could be dismantling or disassembling to get some of the printed circuit board, lithium battery, screen display, then dismantling again or further dismantling after physical separations, and again for the further recovery like the leaching, or like this hydrometallurgy, or like smelting, like the pyrometallurgy together with fine metals, or some of the new product. This is for the global recycling process. But for the first one, number one is popular in the developed countries. Number two is popular in the developed countries. So it's quite different for in the two worlds. And this is for the China adventures for the e-waste management in China. So we focused on for the e-waste about before the year 2000. That belong to the improper dismantling phases, use the e-reburning and leaching. After the year 2000, we belong to the national pilot. And maybe from the years 2009, old phone new policy is coming. And after use 2 years, and from the 2012, Chinese WEEE regulation and the rules regulation come going to enforce together. And maybe from the 2020, we go to the sound management. This is for the general adventures of China e-waste management, basically the process. In the past 20 years, China make so many regulations and policies related to the e-waste, especially for the mostly important is China WEEE is the most important, like the regulations for the administration of recycling and treatment for the WEEE. And the second one important for the catalogue of WEEE recycling, batch 1 and batch 2. And in this year, Chinese government and Ministry of Ecological Environment to improve some of the special for the subsidy standards for the WEEE funding. So this is for the Chinese e-waste legislation from the catalog plans, permit, information system, and funding together. Basically, the mostly the economic cost is the funding system. So here is to give the adventures before the year 2000 belong to the informal recycling. This is for the use the primitive technology without some of the safeguard and the environmental human health. So here is for the maybe 20 years ago for the e-waste recycling. This is the landscape. It's open burning and very easy to release environmental health. public health the risk. And at that time, China is not only the largest producer and consumer electronics, but also this country are the most seriously polluted from the illegal e-waste importation and informal recycling. After the year 2000, the Chinese government released the situation to make out the national pilot for companies. And this is the situation for, at that time, this is the Chinese recycling companies situation. You can find this the open manual dismantling is very popular. And to talk about at that time, where we need to start for the most developed country, the focus on the in landfill and incineration with so many recycling facilities to concern environmental high environmental concerns. But in developing countries, they most to focus on recycling second-hand, but the lack of environmental laws and enforcement. So this is the two words have different solution or different this is the process. So where we start. That is the question we requested about 20 years ago. So about this, that 20 years, Chinese government or Chinese so many university to develop some special technical process, also to make up some of the policy and regulations at that time. So this is for the two slides for some of the special, this is the processes. And this is for currently, this is the recycling process. Some of the labor is also involved, but more and more these devices and the equipment, automotive equipment are being involved together. Eventually, so share of the e-waste, this is for the basic situation in the past a few years. So you can find that the e-waste the e-waste have different share in the e-waste recycled. So currently, it's even more, half of it belongs to the television, but another the electronics go up together. So we find that the closed loop technical system is emerging. So finally, we know it's the e-waste at the end of life, it could be for reuse, remanufacturing, recycling, or recovery to realize the closed loop recycle the supply chains. Second one, we know the e-waste recycling industry in China. Chinese government have created more than 100 licensed and certificate enterprises. They belong to the formal recycling along in China from the south to the west, to the south to the east, also to the north to the south. So this is for the distribution in the map. We also find that e-waste urban mining is becoming more cost-effective than vertical mining. What that means? It means if we get resources of the common metals or coppers of the precious metals, it's much cheaper to get the metals from this e-waste, not from the underground resources, underground mineral. So this inspires us to move from the vertical mining to urban mining for the e-waste. And here we get some to compare China, US, and EU. China have reached the level about the US and the EU for the recycling rate. You can find this the data, and research performance about is 30% for the formal recycling material. And you get it is very distinct for the environmental performance. Here is for the summary for the experience. Most effective regular cost is about the out-for-new policy, and we produce a pay funding. And the second one, environmental emissions and the management costs have been internalized. So China also it would have been feasible to try to duplicate the other countries' experience or process to use for China. So then last one is management management system is very important to support our industrial and finalize the sound management. But also we find some of this the imbalance. So the first one, after this is several years, so we can get the first one we find is the levy from producer, and this one is for the maintenance subsidy for the recycler. It means the producer, when, for example, when one producer to generate 1 unit TV, they could pay money $2 for the government. The government uses the levy from this producer then pay this money for the recycler. But to pay for the recycler, this money could be $10. So this is for the very huge gap. This huge gap could be will be afforded by the government. Then make a very high pressure for the economic pressure for the government. So it means imbalance between fund levies, the subsidies may lead to unsustainable funding policy. This is the biggest lessons current from this China. But in recent years, Chinese government realized the situation. They just to adjust for the subsidies. You can find it. This is 1 unit subsidy for the recycler. This is for the about 10 years ago. It's a start, but generally about the 2015 or 2021. So that is the subsidy from this. The government is go down for the recycler. So it means they just want to mitigate this the gap from this the producer to the recycler. This is for the solution 1. Producer procedure of the subsidy the utilization. Currently, this is the procedures is a very long procedure. Tedious procedures related to the auditing operations and disciplining to the civil subsidies have decreased the efficiency of the payment system. So it means after this government, like SAT customer, they get this money from this the producer importer. Then to make this money to and with the state minister of the financial to make the account, financial account. So this is the recycler. After recycling e-waste, this e-waste could be this is the confirmed by the Minister of Environmental Protection for the local EPB to confirm. Then submitting the information for the Minister of the Financial. Finally, the financial government will send this money to the recycler. But this is the process with a very long time, maybe 12 to 18 months. I remember maybe in recent years, more than 2 years or 3 years. So it means to decline this is the incentive of the recycler for the e-waste. Expanding of the e-waste recycling industrials, it means e-waste for the recycling industrials technology the technology have been fully transferred, utilized. And the eco-design is not pressed very well because in currently not only very few large the e-waste producer is involved in the e-waste recycling. So it means most recycler, they don't understand, they don't know very detail, very clearly for the e-waste component. This is the composition. So that will be declined there, the e-waste recycling, the processes. And also for the new catalog, because we know from this, the 2015, some of the new catalog coming, but no special the funding policy or regulation on them. So finally, we try to give some special the solution for the e-waste problem. According to China, in the past 20 years, e-waste is very sensitive to the policy. Firstly, we control. Control it means, we can to control with the regulations, with the laws. It means if one country want to make the e-waste sound management, they should have very completely some of the laws or regulations. If no laws, if no regulations, they cannot. So this is the regulations, the laws could be for the control way. Second one, out is alternative to reduce or to replace the primitive technology, to develop some advantage the technology. So it means the technology, the process is very important. It means e-waste recycling could be used very advanced processes to improve the environmental protection. Lastly, delete. Delete means most for the eco-design. It means for the electronics could be eco-design to remove or delete some of the toxic material involved for the manufacturing processes. At the meantime, delete also the detoxification. At the end of life, the detoxification is also very important. So it means to solve the e-waste problem, they could be supported by the control, alter, and delete working together to support for e-waste sound management. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jones. Thank you for your presentations. So in summary, Professor Jones has discussed about how the e-waste management has developed in China, starting from the informal recycling facilities, and that creates a lot of pollution problems, and then they're moving toward the formal recycling facilities by introducing law and regulations, and also they also have a financial incentive to promote recycling in terms of like levies and subsidy as well. And then he's also discussed about the eco designs, which he referred to as the deleted process, right? So he said that there are three commands like controls, they use the law and regulations, then an alternative is the role of technologies, of recycling technologies, and the last button is the delete, where the eco design has come into place. Okay, so is there any questions from the floor? Okay, so Dr. Sutita has one question. So given the problem of funded models, will the Chinese government change the EPR model from the government fund to the full operation by the private producers? That is the questions. From the chat box, you can read the chat box.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Very wonderful. This is a very good question. So it means current Chinese government is not so easy to change this the model, EPR, the models. Because it's Chinese government, especially the EPR model, that the Chinese government is the collecting the funding of getting this money from the levy this money from the producer, and to levy this money to the recycler. So because China, I know in the developed countries like this, the Europe, they use the special PRO to support the EPR. Because at that the university, at that is the countries, they special is the industrials and societies and associations very strong. But in China, association and the special this is very poor. It's not very strong. It cannot have this powerful to get the money and to pay for the recycler. It's like the middle. So because this middle entity is very strong by the government, so Chinese government just finish this the rules for this getting money and pay money for the recycler.
Okay.
Current not. but in future maybe. Okay.
Okay. There's another question from the audience. So could you please explain more about the internet and APP, the app on the slide number 13? Can you be a little bit more elaboration on that? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Internet Plus and the APP is the program. Is very fashionable these years. I think maybe about a few years ago, it's not so popular, but currently I think it's most is young generation. They just started this APP of the mobile phones. They can to tell this information about maybe it's for the old one. It's very they want to they send back. So when they report this information, they can maybe one day or also a few hours later, somebody just request you about to take back this one and pay a few money. This is for the general the approach. Sometimes, but most popular in China. I know in maybe Amazon, or some in China, some is special. In the shopping, some is the shopping. We just buy online shopping, so we can buy a new one with an old one. So also it belong to the Internet Plus. Use the APP. That's the old for new. As belong to old for new. Use the APP. It's a very good way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chen.
Yes, you are welcome.
I think right now that's all of the question right now. I'm sorry, I forget to introduce Professor Xianlai properly. So allow me to introduce him again. So Dr. Chen is the Chief Technical Advisor of Basel Convention Regional Centers for Asia and the Pacific, UNEP. And he also has worked as technical advisor at UNDP, visiting professor at Macquarie University, and also Fulbright fellows at Yale Universities. So his area of specializations and interests include e-waste management, resource sustainability, and circular economy.